think you have to appreciate that, well, let's take Australia first rather than the broad APAC, because that's a much bigger question. APAC is different to the rest of the world. Australia is different to the rest of APAC, and APAC is made up of a whole bunch of very different markets. So the notion that you can take something that works really well in Europe or in the US and put that model straight into either Australia or any other APAC country for that matter is fundamentally flawed. And that means that you need to prepare yourself for doing business slightly differently, certainly for messaging your marketing activities differently. Throwing out an EDM, for example, that you've used successfully in the US or in the UK, and thinking that will work here is also flawed. And another reason for that, let's take Australia, is that if we're talking about digital commerce, for example, the Australian marketplace in general is not at the same place that the US or UK one is. And so you've got to think that you may need to use some messaging that was used some time ago in the UK or US to start off with, but you still have to rejig that messaging to make it feel local. And therein lies one of your first big problems, in that you won't have a local example. Where's my local references? Everybody in Australia will say, yeah, tell me a local example, and you won't have one. So whatever you need to do to get a couple at least of local examples, do it. Give your stuff away, but make sure you execute really well, and have it very clear in that cheap contract that you are going to need press and you are going to need case study and reference material, because you will need local case studies as quickly as you possibly can. So that's fundamental. And then Australia confidence comes from many different people talking about your stuff at the same time. So it's not good enough for you as a vendor to be saying how great you are, or for one other person or partner to be saying the same thing. You need an ecosystem of partners, partner companies, whether they're formal or informal partners, but other companies in the similar space to you, not competitive obviously, but in the same space, who are talking about the benefits at a very high level of your software. Those partners are essential, and if you want to get partners on board quickly, the best thing you can do is to give something to them first. Make sure you're passing on partner details to people when you're having conversations, because you will need that partner network, that partner ecosystem to be working in your favour. And as a new entrant, certainly I found that you probably want to be spending 30% of your time actively working those partners who are going to give you warm introductions, who are going to mention you in business conversations that they're having. And that's activity that isn't going to generate you any obvious revenue straight away. But it's time that you must spend.